Welcome, 8th graders, to today's Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here because today we're tackling something pretty amazing. We are looking at the very DNA of your favorite movies, your favorite books, and honestly, even your own life experiences. We're talking about the architecture of a story, specifically linear plot development. Now, imagine for a second that you're building a house. You wouldn't just, try to hang the roof in midair, right? And you wouldn't install the windows before you've actually poured the concrete foundation. Building a sturdy house requires a blueprint. It needs a specific order of operations. Well, building a captivating story works exactly the same way. There's a precise architecture to it. And once you've learned this secret blueprint, I promise you are never going to read a book or watch a movie the same way ever again. There's this great quote from Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 1. "For everything there is a season and a time for every matter under heaven." This perfectly illustrates a profound truth. Basically, everything in life, and especially in a great story, has a specific, intended order. Random chaos? That doesn't make a good story. Intentional sequence does. Just like seasons in nature reliably follow one another, there are seasons in a narrative that have to unfold chronologically to actually make sense to us. Okay, let's jump right into Section 1, the architecture of story. So you can kind of think of this part as our own explainer's exposition. We're setting the stage right now for why story structure fundamentally matters. The big idea here is the linear plot. A linear plot is simply a story that follows events in the exact chronological order that they happen. You start at point A, move to point B, and finish at point C. It's a journey from the very first introduction of characters straight through to the final resolution of their big conflict. There's no jumping back and forth in time, no confusing flashbacks or flash forwards to mess with your head, just a straight, forward-moving line of cause and effect unfolding right in front of you.
Now, you might be wondering, okay, why do I actually need to know this? Well, understanding linear plot structure gives you incredible power. First off, it helps you understand story pacing, like why a book feels a little slow at the start but then becomes literally impossible to put down by the end. Second, it lets you actually predict what's going to happen. Once you know the blueprint, you can totally guess where the author is taking you. Third, mastering this is going to make you write way clearer, more compelling school essays. And finally, and maybe the most important for real life, it equips you to clearly share your personal testimony or even just tell a story to your friends in a way that makes absolute sense and keeps them totally hooked.
Moving right along to Section 2, mapping the 5 stages. If that first section was our setup, consider this the rising action of our lesson. We're breaking down the actual blueprint now. I want you to picture a giant mountain. Every linear story is essentially a hike up this mountain and a journey down the other side. There are 5 non-negotiable stages here that we're going to conquer. 1, exposition. 2, rising action. 3, climax. 4, falling action. And 5, resolution. Every single well-structured story you've ever loved relies on these exact 5 steps. So let's break them down. We start with Stage 1, the exposition. This is the foundation of our house, the base camp of our mountain. In the exposition, the author sets the stage by introducing us to the main characters, showing us the setting, and giving us the very first glimpse of the main conflict. Without exposition, we just wouldn't care about the characters. We wouldn't understand the stakes. It is the absolutely crucial starting point that anchors everything else. Once that foundation is laid, we enter Stage 2, the rising action. This is the climb. The characters start trying to solve their conflict. But, of course, they run into obstacles. And with every obstacle, the tension builds. Smaller events and complications start piling up, pushing the story forward and upward. It's exactly like climbing a steep trail. With every step, your heart beats a bit faster, the intensity ramps up, and you're getting closer to the top. And then, bam, we hit Stage 3. The climax. This is it, the absolute peak of the mountain. The climax is the most intense, edge-of-your-seat moment of the whole narrative. It's the ultimate turning point where the main conflict comes to a massive head, and the tension finally breaks. Everything the characters did in the rising action has led right to this single explosive confrontation. From this point on, nothing will ever be the same. Immediately following that massive peak, we slide into Stage 4, the falling action. Think of this as the necessary, deep breath of fresh air after the total exhaustion of the climax. The adrenaline is fading, and we're starting our descent down the other side of the mountain. This is the cool-down phase. Smaller subplots start wrapping up, the immediate fallout from the climax is dealt with, and all the loose ends are getting neatly tied together. Finally, we arrive at Stage 5, the resolution. This is our final destination at the bottom of the trail. The main conflict is now fully resolved or definitively addressed. The characters have changed, a new normal has been established, and we can clearly look back and see the beautifully completed story arc. Their journey is over, the sequence is totally complete.
All right, up next, Section 3, Seeing Plot in Action.
Okay, we've reached what I'd call the climax of our own lesson today. Abstract concepts are great, but it is way more fun to see how this works out in the wild. Let's take those 5 stages and apply them to some famous movies and books. Prepare to see the blueprint come to life. Look at The Lion King, Charlotte's Web, and A Wrinkle in Time. You'll see the exact same architecture. In the exposition for all 3, we meet our heroes, Simba, Wilbur, and Meg. Then the rising action hits. Scar executes his evil plan, Charlotte starts scheming to save Wilbur, and Meg starts her wild Tesseract journey. The tension builds until, bam, the climax. Simba physically confronts Scar, Wilbur faces the ultimate judgment at the fair, and Meg comes face to face with it. These are the peak moments of conflict. Then the falling action kicks in to cool us down. Scar is defeated, Wilbur is guaranteed safety, Meg rescues her brother. Finally, the resolution. Simba takes his rightful place as king, life peacefully continues in the barn, and Meg's family is happily reunited. 3 totally different stories, exact same 5 architectural steps. No way, right? It's like a giant puzzle fitting together perfectly.
Let's move right into Section 4, Test Your Knowledge.
Okay, take a deep breath. We're now entering the falling action of our explainer. It's time for a rapid-fire review to really lock these concepts in. Let's see how well we mapped that mountain. Question 1. What is the precise order of the 5 main stages of a linear plot? Challenge yourself right now, try to visualize that mountain, and mentally list the steps in order. Got 'em? Exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, and resolution. If you got that, you officially have the master key to story structure. Question 2. Why does the exposition actually matter? Like, why can't we just start with the explosions and intense drama? Well, recall what we said about a house's foundation. It matters because without establishing the characters, the setting, and that baseline conflict, the audience simply won't care about the explosions. You gotta lay that vital groundwork first. Question 3. What is the climax's role in a plot? Think about the very peak of that story mountain we just climbed. The climax serves as the ultimate turning point where the main conflict comes to a head. It's that crazy pressure cooker moment that determines the entire outcome of the narrative. Question 4. What happens in the falling action stage? Remember that feeling right after the climax? The falling action is the necessary cool down. It's where the author systematically ties up loose ends, resolves those minor subplots, and safely guides us down from the peak of tension toward a satisfying ending. Final question. I want you to think of an example of a story you know that has a linear plot. Pick your absolute favorite movie, or maybe that book you just couldn't put down last summer. Take a second and mentally map its 5 stages. Who was introduced in the exposition? What was the climax? Where was the resolution? Once you start doing this, you're going to realize you are surrounded by linear plots everywhere. And finally, Section 5, the mind and morality. We have safely arrived at the resolution of our explainer. We've talked a ton about the structure of fictional stories today, but to wrap things up, let's tie this plot structure directly to the philosophy of the Academy Godly Learners series, and more importantly, to the story of your own real life. Here is the danger. Education without morality will hurt. In a story, if characters only have raw intelligence but lack a moral compass, their rising action usually leads to a pretty tragic climax. And the same is true in life. Being smart, getting straight A's, being supposedly educated, it just isn't enough if you're making bad choices. Just like a well-structured story needs a proper resolution to be satisfying, your growing intelligence absolutely must be paired with biblical morality so your life story doesn't end in unnecessary pain. Romans chapter 8, verses 6 and 7 actually promises peace of mind to everyone who keeps their mind spiritual. You can think of peace of mind as the ultimate, most satisfying resolution to your personal story arc. By intertwining your education with a spiritually focused mind, you are actively writing a narrative that dodges the tragedy of poor choices and leads straight to a resolution of genuine peace. This isn't just theory, guys. It's the lived experience of countless people who actually engage with these truths. So I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. You know the 5 stages now. You know exactly how cause and effect works. You understand that the choices you make in the rising action are going to determine your climax. So how will you write the linear plot of your own life? Are you going to apply godly wisdom to the obstacles you face, ensuring a resolution of peace? Or are you going to try to climb that mountain without a moral compass? The pen is literally in your hand. I encourage you to write a brilliant, beautiful story. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer today, and I will catch you on the next one.